The tremulous voice of a parent who is incarcerated opens the film, instead than yelling or playing music. Say, "Daddy will be home shortly." Even if they are heard over a cheap prison, his words carry the weight of a lifetime despite their rawness and brittleness. Cool. From the other end, his children, who are too little to fully understand the world but old enough to feel its harshness, listen in silence. The child answers softly, his voice breaking. You say that all the time, though, "Dad." In that moment, the internet froze. A child held the phone up to his ear. One tear ran down his cheek as millions of people watched on burning screens all across the world. A sweet phone call between a parent and child devolved into a depressing illustration of unmet expectations. Blueface is a shaky father begging for one last chance after being a loud, unpredictable internet phenomenon. As the video went viral, millions of people watched it with tears in their eyes. Some people believe that no child deserves this pain. "Too little, too late," mumbled one of the colder ones. Then the unexpected turn occurred. Leaks began to surface. Alleged text messages, unedited recordings, and whispered phone conversations all allude to evil. Was this sincere plea a sincere attempt on the part of the father to build a bond with his children, or was it a well-planned performance meant to arouse pity while the public was still in shock at his children's tears? Chrisean Rock came out with receipts and accused Blueface of using himself and his kids as props in a last-ditch effort to survive. It's more than just a jail call. Now this nightmare is happening. A family, a father, and a fan base were all destroyed in the horrific collision of love, power, and treachery. As you look into this, you should also think about whether you could have forgiven your child if he had been involved. Since this isn't music anymore, it's a matter of survival. On the screen, it flickers. An unsteady video captured in a jail cell. Genuine truth without any unnecessary embellishments or filters. The Blueface leans forward, his eyes sorrowful, his words erratic. "Daddy will return home soon." The words smash onto the web like a tidal wave. "Dad, you say that all the time." However, his tiny child whispers back, and in that one disastrous reaction, the planet stops breathing. The cold cement walls and window bars do not crush the soul. That sound is coming from a child who has already come to terms with the fact that promises do not always mean forever. As his daughter quietly holds a phone while his child drops his head and his small voice breaks, millions of people watch. The weight of disenchantment collides with the innocence of infancy, as years of rumors and scandals are abruptly blocked out by the internet's hardened stays. For a moment, Blueface is not a rapper. He is not the chaos, the memes, or the news machine. He is a shattered, damaged, and desperate parent attempting to cling to the few people who still call him daddy. Messages from admirers are flooding timelines. A child should never hear that kind of misery. Another individual remarks, "You can say whatever you want about him, but you can hear the love in his voice." However, distrust spreads like an intruding shadow. Was his suffering genuine, or was it a show? Another crucial point in a contentious career. Minutes after the video is uploaded to the internet, whispers begin. Leaked audio, secret phone calls, and purported text exchanges all suggest that a widely circulated video may not be what it looks. As the narrative abruptly ends, some individuals suppress their emotions, claiming that this was Blueface, a dad about to lose his ego and have a breakdown. It's just dishonesty to others. A man ready to use his children's innocence as a weapon in order to obtain acceptance, power, and his own life. Then, like fuel into an open fire, Chrisean Rock enters a fray. Her voice trembles with wrath, and her eyes are teary as she performs live in front of hundreds of thousands of people. Do you believe he has any interest in the children? He didn't care about me when I was carrying his child. He is taking advantage of other people the way he took advantage of me. She shows screenshots of alleged texts, receipts, and other proof that might or might not be real. The harm had already been done. The internet, which is already troublesome, gets worse. The argument between the broken father and the surge children will never be resolved, along with a disagreement among supporters over love, family, and the thin line dividing reality from performance. Furthermore, the image remains during the entire process. You always say that, "Dad," because this isn't just a prison call, a boy's tired voice stated. There is a disaster going on right now. A man, a family, and an entire generation have been imprisoned by deceit, cunning, and broken promises. As the story goes on, one awful fact remains. Is a father trying to make apologies, or is he just crying on TV to attract attention? The internet thought that it had seen enough tragedy. But when people began wiping away their tears, the story took a darker turn. Hours after Blueface's endearing phone call went viral, another video surfaced. This time, the allegedly unedited version is included. The weak voice of his child whispered, "But, Dad, you say that all the time." However, what followed completely shocked the supporters. Suddenly, Blueface's tone shifted from one of desperation to defensiveness. Never pay attention to what they have to say. Daddy will take care of this. Daddy, not the comforting voice, will make sure we are heterosexual. The voice belonged to a man who was trying to convince himself of the world that making pledges meant more than just being excluded. The quiet, exhausted, and resigned reply from his kid was more profound than any poetry he had ever composed. You say it all the time, Dad. The internet became popular. The tears gave way to outrage. Was he a man who sought sympathy by making unfulfilled promises? Or was he a parent sharing his heart? Everyone was taken aback by the subsequent outbursts, which included reportedly leaked texts from Blueface confirming that the call wasn't spontaneous at all. One of them added, "Got to make sure they feel sorry for me, dude. Tonight, release the video. Kids sell the story. Says another dot superior to me. Watch the blogger's food devour this." The betrayal deeply wounded the fans. The same children whose innocence had brought everyone to tears were reportedly being used as props in a last-ditch effort to attract attention. The #kids aren't single quotes after a few hours. T-Pro gained a lot of traction. Not even celebrities could keep quiet. 50 Cent wrote, "You can't scam sympathy," as a caption for a photo of a laughing face. Public relations is not for kids. The Game, a rapper, remarked, "You don't understand the pain of being locked away from your kids in support of him. That man is doing what he can." Her voice broke with grief and rage as Rock and Cry joined the fray as the fight grew more intense and the distance grew. "Tears are streamed live on Instagram. He didn't even give a damn about me when I was pregnant," she said. "His snooping on them based on how he handled me." She supported a claim that these kids are significant by showing screenshots of alleged conversations. This relates to the bag. You know, whether or not the passages were real didn't really matter. The internet had already made up its mind. Many people no longer saw Blueface as a devastated father begging for forgiveness. It was he who orchestrated and oversaw his own children's agony. But for every hater, there was a believer. Some supporters claimed that the revelations were lies meant to undermine him. Some people believe that manipulators are still capable of loving their kids. Nonetheless, one thing was for sure. The voices of the small, tired children could not be heard in any controversy. The world has only one horrifying question to think about. What more won't he give up? He thought as Chapter 2 of this nightmare drew to an end, his tears at the prospect of using children as weapons. Even if it appears impossible to mend the wound, fans think they saw every part of Blueface's downfall by the time the dust cleared. Tragic incidents tend to get worse over time. A Tucko, a burner account called Incident, published a grainy video clip from what looked to be a jail corridor window. The movie was sluggish and fuzzy, but the audio was crystal clear. A crazy voice, blue faces, and irate pierce the static. It is their opinion that I am stupid. Someone I know is making fun of me in revealing this. Oh, when I depart, they will all pay. The internet stopped working. His children's tender tears continued to permeate everyone's minds. Now there was anger in their father's voice. Dot, was a worried father begging for forgiveness, or was a manipulator preparing retaliation? A few hours later, another understanding hit with much more force. Alleged court documents that began circulating online suggest that Blueface might not actually get a swift sentence. Supporters were told that their father would not be coming home anytime soon and would spend years behind bars. When he whispered that one promise to his son and daughter, it shattered like glass. Sadness started to appear in memes. His son's awful voice was accompanied with harsh text overlays from fans. You say that all the time, Dad. While a somber tune played in the background, TikToks mimicked his daughter's silence. Clout's opening comments appeared on the screen. Comment sections were transformed into prayer walls by strangers who begged for sympathy for kids who had never asked to be in the circus. Celebrities once again voice their opinions and beliefs. Stop putting kids in the middle of grown folks' mess, Cardi B wrote on Twitter. On Instagram Offset Live, the user said, I understand what it's like to be away from your kids for a while, but this ain't the way. Kids aren't props. But rather than from outsiders, his own family dealt him the most devastating blow. A family member said on a minor gossip website that the kids were confused, sobbing at night, and pleading with their father to stop lying. Whether true or exaggerated, the outcome was catastrophic. In the tragedy of his own children, the internet has devolved into a savage place. The villain today was the same individual who had previously turned every scandal into a meme. However, just as his critics thought the narrative was over, a final twist of events changed everything. Pages of a fictitious jailhouse journal were discovered. He had a wobbly script, Blueface. Everyone opposes me. Chrissy, you have my undying love. The brands wish for me to vanish. My only chance is my kids. If I can keep them, I can overcome this. Close. Others interpreted it as proof of ongoing manipulation. Others interpreted it as the sobs of a man who, after being duped by love and left by fame, clung to what was left of his family. Anger, sadness, separation, and brokenness were all that remained on the earth. Was this the story of a parent who had been destroyed by his own problems? The story of the children who refused to play the game in which they were pawns? Maybe there was no question about that. It would sound very different if you knew that Daddy would be coming back shortly. And not from a jail cell either. Not just a father's trembling voice, but also a riff from behind jail bars has been sparked by the internet. For each fan who has ever believed in second chances, a promise was made. They are soon haunted by the spectral echoes of their father's return. But this story is more important than trending hashtags, Christian rock, Blueface, and gossip websites. The children in this tale are caught in the crossfire of love, power, treachery, and the cool grip of celebrity. Their cries have garnered international attention. Their voices, which were too small to protect themselves, have become weapons even though they never asked to join the battle. Do you currently hold it in your hands? Do you witness a worried parent begging for forgiveness or master manipulator using his own kids to win sympathy? Comment in the space provided below. Don't be timid. Your comment has the power to completely shift the conversation's focus. Believe that children should never be used as props by celebrities. Click like. The diaries, receipts, and leaks were just a start. So, click subscribe now. I promise there will be more. More text messages, more phone calls, and more sad disclosures. Also, don't keep this to yourself. Play this video for someone who insisted the phone call was genuine. Since this is ultimately about more than simply entertainment, show them the negative aspects, the ones that nobody wants to talk about. Actually, it's a catastrophe. And the question isn't whether Blueface goes back home. The question is what will happen to his children when he dies. Stay locked in. The truth will soon come to light.